Now, coming to the question of importance of 1947 and 48, you automatically come across the question of Razakars. Who are the Razakars and what is the Razakar? The thing started when MIM decided to become a political entity. It decided to become a political entity. The way all the political parties have a cadre, Majlis felt that it too should have a cadre. So this was the beginning of the idea of Razakars. So at that time, Majlis was confined to Hyderabad. So it wanted to expand to different places, and also it wanted to have cadre. So this led them to include people as volunteers in the party. So this changed, became very organized after 1940, because in 1940, if you look at the Majlis record, you will come across their decision, the internal decisions which they have taken to form a group of Razakars. In other words, it was volunteers. So they formed a document in which they prescribed who is a Razakar, what he should do, and what is the duties, and what is the do's and don'ts of the Razakars. So they published a small document of around 20 pages, in which all these details were included, and started sending it to different units, and asked those units of the Majlis to start recruiting more and more people on these lines. So this was the beginning in 1940 onwards. So the first unit of Razakar was established in 1941. The duties of Razakars basically was to maintain the law and order in the Majlis public meetings, and also salute the Nizam's flag in those meetings. This was the earlier jobs of the Razakars. But slowly, they started marching on the roads, because the communal situation in Hyderabad was so tense that there was everywhere fear that after Dhulpet riot and of 1938, there was fears that there may be riots again. So the antisocial elements may create trouble at any time. So in order to discourage them, this Razakars started marching on the roads, and that was occasionally once in a week, once in a particular place like that. So it was not a common thing. But then it took a different form after 47. That is specifically in July 1947, because at that time when Hyderabad announced that when it will remain independent from India, that is 11th June 1947. Nizam Government announced that it will remain independent. Then soon after, trouble started in the border districts of Hyderabad. There was a law and order problem, and Nizam administration and Nizam army and police was not able to handle those situations, because Nizam's army just returned from Second World War without any arms and ammunitions. So the situation was that without any arms and ammunition with the Nizam army and police, they can't maintain the law and order. So it was a very dangerous situation. So at this time, in July 1947, Qasim Razvi, the president of Majlis at the time, approached Nizam government and said and requested that Nizam government should come forward to control law and order in the border districts of Nizam state, and try to control this thing, because it will affect the people. And Nizam government was not in a position to raise more police and more army, because it was in a very difficult condition. So at this time, Qasim Razvi offered Nizam government that, okay, we will place our volunteers at your service of Nizam administration and use our volunteers to maintain law and order. So this was the suggestion given by Qasim Razvi to the Nizam government. And Qasim Razvi was not alone in giving this suggestion. Some other groups, some Dalit groups and some other groups also offered their volunteers to the Nizam government. So Nizam government placed these volunteers under the control of their officers. So all these were called Razakars. So their duty was to parade in the disturbed areas and under the supervision of Nizam's officers. So things started like this. So in after 29th November 1947, when in Hyderabad signed this standstill agreement, there was the situation got under control for a few months in the border districts of Hyderabad, as well as in the internal districts of Nalgonda and Warangal, where this communist movement was going on. But soon after, 2 or 3 months after that, then again trouble started. So this time there were organized attacks from the Indian side of the border, and very sophisticated arms were used against the Hyderabadis to create a law and order problem, so that they can prove that Hyderabad has failed. It has it is not able to control itself, so that Indian government will have an excuse of overtaking Hyderabad. So they started destabilizing this Hyderabad thing. So at that time, Razakars felt a need to have weapons. They felt they can't maintain law and order with lathis and just parades and all that, with the advanced equipments which is used by the Indian forces. So this was the turn that took place in Razakar, and Qasim Razvi, the president of Majlis, appealed to the people to come forward with the weapons, whatever they have, and he also started procuring some of the weapons. So at the time it was very difficult to get the weapons. So according to the observers and journalists and historians of that place, only 20 to 30% of the Razakars were having some weapons. Most of the others were not having anything except some lathis or anything. So this was the situation at the time. So these Razakars, who were armed at that in that time, starting from maybe February 48 onwards, started going to these disturbed areas and maintaining the law and order. So there were two groups in these Razakars. One group was to protect the women and children from the attacks by the antisocial elements, and the other group was supposed to defend the aggressions and intrusions of the North Indian groups. So there were two groups formed in the Razakars, and with two separate responsibilities. So these groups were doing effective job in the border areas and as well as in the internal disturbed areas. So like these things were happening at the time. But the change happened when more and more people in Hyderabad volunteered themselves to become a part of Razakars. So at that time, Qasim Razvi appealed that we need more Razakars to participate in this monitoring activities, in this law and order things. So he issued a statement requesting all the Hyderabadis to join the Razakars. So as a result, many people started joining, and the people who joined were not necessarily part of the Razakar, part of the Majlis. They were not official Razakars of the party workers of the Majlis. It was not the case. Many just people out of sympathy for Hyderabad, out of their devotion for the motherland, came forward and joined the Razakars, and there were many Hindus in that. It's not that dominated by the Muslims. In Muslim areas, you will find many Muslims in Razakars, and in Hindu areas, we will find many Hindus in Razakars. So this was the situation. So, but what happened in this time was many antisocial elements also joined the Razakars, because it was very easy to join Razakar. In order to become a Razakar, you have to go to a local unit and say that I have to become a Razakar, I want to become a Razakar, and you should have a dress with you and some weapon you have to show, at least some lathi you have to show. And they used to maintain register, you have to enroll your name in that and start participating in the parades. So that was the minimum requirement to become a Razakar. As a result, many people became part of the Razakars. And after a point, and the situation was so complex that it became very difficult for the Nizam government as well as the central leadership of Majlis to control these elements. So these elements started creating problem in the vulnerable areas, especially in the district areas, because the district areas were very famous for the centers of Arya Samaj and Congress, and also socialist groups. So they established all the units, because obviously their other units were in the next door, very close by. So it was easy for them to operate from there. So most of the Arya Samaj centers and Congress centers were in the bordering districts. So that's why all these conflicts happen in those bordering areas only. So at that time, all the Congress volunteers and the Arya Samajis and belonging to other groups who were in support of Hyderabad joining the Indian Union started attacking Nizam administration. They burned their offices and checkposts and bet their officers, looted the money and banks and all that thing. They started all kinds of disruptive activities. And these people, the Razakars, were equally becoming strict. One, there is a attack from north, the Indian border side. They will also retaliate to that group. So they became strict as the time passed, as the crimes were increasing. And also the antisocial elements which took the form of Razakars, started looting the villages and creating all kinds of crimes. So Indian government used these incidents by the Razakars and started doing a lot of propaganda in the mainstream Indian press. So if you look at the press at the time, which was in favor of Congress and the communists and the socialists and the Arya Samaj, you will find full stories of Razakars, atrocities and their excesses and their violence in a very exaggerated form. So these are the things that happen in only last 6 months of the period which is ending in September 1948. So all this thing happened in last 6 months, all these disturbances. So these stories of Razakars, once the police action happened, that it got ended. And Razakars were banned and they were arrested, and many people were killed in the name of Razakars. So many stories happened which we all know. So if you look at this Razakar entity, it was there only for a period of 14 months. It has a history of 14 months, and within that 14 months, that 6-month period, last 6-month period was the most disturbed thing. So the crimes and all those things that was related to Razakars happened in the last 6 months only. So this is the context of the Razakars. So given the new material which is coming up, the new perspective which are coming up about that period, throws a light on Razakars in a very different way. The way the Razakar has gained popularity, negative popularity in the minds of people, are completely look very strange when you look at this new data which is coming up, which people are exploring more and more. So we need to question this whole narratives of Razakars which were there since 60, 65 years till now, which everybody believed. So this need to be looked at in from different factual perspectives. And of course, the histories which are written from the Congress perspective, from the communist perspectives, from the socialist perspectives, from the Arya Samajis and Mahasabhais perspectives, give a different story. That they blame that Razakars were the main culprit, were the main villains, were the main people who caused so much problems and so much difficulties to the Hindus of that period. So they tried to keep these memories alive for many decades. Until now, those things are continuing. So there is a lot of politics involved in the descriptions about the Razakars.